At some point in your transformational process towards personal mastery, you're going to come to a place that can only be described as the void. If you're a person who's always seeking to grow, you can expect to encounter this stage many times within your life. If you feel like your life is on complete pause right now, like nothing's really happening, nothing's really materializing, you're probably trying to get away from it by pushing and forcing movement to happen. Although this phase can be really uncomfortable at times, when you begin to learn how to use this phase, you'll see how crucial it is to prepare you for your future. If this sounds like you, then you're going to get a lot from today's video. In this video, you're going to learn 1, what is the void? The second thing you're going to learn is the biggest problem faced when they're in this stage. The third thing you're going to learn is how to know if you're in it. Really kind of some key pointers to understand whether you're in this phase or not. And the fourth part of today's video is, well, what do you do if you are in it? If you're new to my videos, please click the subscribe button and click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I release new content. So when you've done that, let's dive straight in. I'm Richard Hussaini, here to support you along your path to personal mastery. And personal mastery being the path of inner work and outer action. On to part 1 of today's video. What is the void? When you're going through an awakening along your personal mastery journey, it's really common to experience different kind of distinct stages throughout this process. And the void is the stage that usually comes after a period of healing, a period of change, or a period of pain. It's simply the period of time in which all of the ideas who we thought we were are being peeled back and examined to see which ones are actually true. When we awaken, there are so many shifts that happen within us and also within our world. And during our process, we go through so many of those cycles. And obviously this experience is not very comfortable. There's a lot of inner changes that are happening, which are leading to more and more uncertain times. I want to link you to 2 videos that I've done previously to give you some more depth to the context of this. The first video is about personal mastery, where to begin, and it really looks at the process of change. And change is very complex. It's not as simple as choosing to go to a different area. There are much terrain to that. The second video is about shadow work and how important shadow work is, and really kind of uncovering those parts of us that we can't see, that inner world that we can't really see and aren't really aware of, and it's about bringing that to the foresight. You can find both of the links to those videos below that you can watch after this one. All of your old reference points in life are starting to disappear, and there's so much change happening around you and within your world. With this, most of us will find that all the events within our outside world become to a halting stop. Nothing seems to be happening. It seems like we're just stuck, we're stationary, we're stagnant. But this is not the case. It can feel like we're not interested in doing anything. Our relationships begin to fall away, both intimate and friendships. Our jobs, we lose interest in our jobs. And our whole world seems to be crumbling and falling at our feet. But to look at it in a different way, our older self is simply dying. Those older parts of us that have served us before are no longer needed, and we're beginning to move away from them. Yet the void is extremely important because it allows us to listen. It gives us the space to turn inwards, to begin to know ourselves on a soul level, to really understand who we are and what we really want. To give you an example of what this looks like, it's time where we can spend on our intuition, time where we can spend on our perception, on what our body is feeling rather than just our mind. And it allows us to spend more and more time on our inner world. On to part 2 of today's video. The biggest problem people face when in the void. When we're in these depths, it can feel like we're falling to oblivion or just on the precipice of falling. And that's because our mind is scared. Our ego, what we've assigned to, and our identities are being threatened. And so it can feel so disorientating and chaotic and unnerving and worrying. But to know that this is part of this process. Despite it being a crucial stage, these delusions feel very, very real. Real threats that we're perceiving, almost on an existential level. And if you're anything like me, you may begin to feel this space because otherwise it feels lonely, it feels frustrating, it feels irritating to be there if you're not aware of the usual mind tricks to try and continue to fill those types of gaps. We'll begin to feel impulses and addictions, begin to fill this space and trying to numb out really to what's going on, to really avoid facing what's in this space. We may reach for sex, for unconscious use of drugs, for alcohol, for shopping, for you name it. There's so many different things that we do to fill this space. That can slip into relationships, the wrong types of relationships. It can slip into jobs. We'll seek new jobs similar to the ones we've just left. Yet filling these cravings will still leave us feeling empty because we're not addressing what's within us, what space we're in right now. Yet I want to remind you that a beautiful and key discovery about being the void is that despite our outer world falling to bits, our inner processing becomes hyper accelerated. Yet life is providing us with a golden opportunity to work through the layers of conditioning, of limiting beliefs, of identities that we've formed through lifetimes of unconsciousness. To initiate this accelerated healing, we have to begin to let go and surrender to the moment, to surrender to the space that life is providing us. This means letting go to all aspects of us, so our identities, what holds us, what keeps us bound to attachments, we have to let go. One really fascinating book and useful book that I've found in my journey has been a book by Michael Singer, and that one was called The Surrender Experiment. You can find a link below to the book. I found it such a useful, practical guide and inspirational guide for his own life story, really. And it's such an easy read, really easy read. You can read it on the train or bedside, wherever you kind of find reading. It's not complex information. It's a wonderful story about how someone uses that idea of surrender to quite an extreme level. This is of course one of the most painful and scariest practices of all, the practice of surrender or dying to the moment. And this is because we're holding on to identities. We have to let go of the identities that keep us attached. We have to let go of the coping mechanisms that have served us up until this point. And really it's about trust. Trusting the moment, trusting the deep now. And if we're not in the deep now, we're either in the painful past or fearful future. And so it's bringing ourselves into the moment more and more often. And this is important because it allows us to see through a brand new lens. On to part 3 of today's video. How to know if you're in the void. Does your life feel flat and uninspired lately? Are you losing enthusiasm for your personal and professional life or exciting yourself? It could be that you just don't know who you are anymore because all of your old ways are falling away. With all of this, you may start to think that something is wrong with you. But know this now, nothing is wrong at all, and this is a crucial part. And once you begin to recognize this, you can practice the art of letting go. So to dig into this, the first sign that you're in the void is that there are no opportunities popping up for you at all. Opportunities just don't seem to be happening. Nothing is happening in your life. You're seeking for a new job, you're seeking for a new partner, you're seeking for a purpose or a direction to go in, but nothing is there. Nothing is presenting itself to you. That is a key sign that you're in the void, and that's okay. And I'm inviting you to begin to relax into this. Of course, it's easier said than done, but to begin to practice the art of, okay, this is just a phase. This is one of the ebbs and flows of life, and this needs to be honored. Extending on from that, the second sign is that you just don't know what to do next. Quite an agitated feeling, you're irritated, you just want to know for sure what to do and when to do it, which direction, is this going to be the right way to go? What if I go the wrong way? All this type of inner chat, inner dialogue is coming up for you because you want to know, you're doing your best to hold on to something that's concrete. But that's the point in this phase, nothing is concrete, it's about peace, it's about stillness. And that's the third sign that you're in the void. You accept and embrace the stillness. And when you begin to surrender, you begin to practice quieting the mind, and you'll feel it on an energetic level, this stillness within you. It'll feel very, very calm. Even though things may be very chaotic on the outside, you'll begin to notice a balance and a stillness within yourself. Now, when you're agitated and you're restless, it's very, very hard to feel this. And so the practice of becoming still, of using practices such as breathwork and meditation, it's about leaning into those practices even more than you do. So maybe you do have a practice. Maybe you do, you like to use your breath, you like to meditate. I would invite you now to go into that deeper. How can you deepen your knowledge or experience within those practices? How long are you doing it? Could you spend a little bit more? Could you give yourself a new technique to learn? How can you begin to develop and evolve those practices? The fourth sign you're in the void is that you feel contracted. And this, more so than anything, is on an energetic layer. We're being asked to come inwards. And so it's almost a contraction. We're kind of, the way I sense it anyway, it's a sense of withdrawal, kind of coming inwards. And it's you could perceive that as a negative thing, but for me, in my experience, it's been such a powerful thing to come inwards, to honor myself and honor how I truly feel, to come inwards and to allow that contraction to happen, because it's happening for a reason on an energetic level. The final sign that I'm going to mention today is a deep sense of peace. Now, you're not going to feel this immediately at the start, But the more you practice, the more you begin to surrender, you'll begin to accept and sense a real quality of peace within you, a real sense of calm and a real sense of acceptance of this is fine and this is who you are and where you are right now. On to part 4 of today's video. What to do if you're in the void right now. I've covered a few tips and topics in regards to, what to do, how to notice if you're in the void, and a few things to do, when you do notice you're in it, what to do. But I want to ground this as some key tips to really take away to practice within your life today if you find yourself and recognize that you are in this stage right now. So the first one is getting to know yourself. The void is a time to really internalize, to really understand who you are and what you want on a soul level. Not what do you want to please people, not what do you want to try and fit in, but what you really want. What do you really want in your life? And this requires you to tune into your intuition, that inner compass that we all have that helps guide us through life. What does your intuition feel like? How does it talk to you? How do you get signals? And that's going to be different for each of us, but we all have signals coming to us every single day. Yet when we're not attuned with it, we just miss them. You can only learn about this when you're still, when you're directed inwards and your focus isn't outwards. And patience is required in this stage, and frustration may happen, but I can tell you from my experience that the more you practice this, the sharper and louder your intuition will become, and you can come to trust it as well. And I would start small, when you have a decision to make, maybe what direction do you want to go on a journey? Think about what feels right. Not as the most logical, but what feels right within you. How do you receive those signals? For me, it's very much within my body. My body talks to me all of the time. Signals that I used to ignore and override with an overpowered mind, I now tune into and I can hear very, very clearly. The second thing is to let confusion be. Put down the need to know and to embrace the now. In this stage, we're just not going to know the answers at all. And so to allow the not knowing to happen, to be, and just to enjoy experiencing it. There's a great freedom in actually surrendering. I just don't know. I don't know, and that's okay right now. And know that you're going to come out of that. Know that the sharper you tune your intuition, the more time you allow yourself to just be in this phase and how you need to be, the more answers will come to you. I like the analogy to just taking your hands off the wheel. Just closing your eyes and taking your hands off the wheel. There's no need. Autopilot is on. If you do need a tool, and not to say that there's going to be a clear-cut answer, but a tool that I've found to be highly useful is something called a polarity management. Sometimes we have decisions to make and there are no straightforward answers. And I've done a video on this and you can find the link below. It's a really easy step-by-step tool that you can use if you have multiple options within your life that you just don't know what to do. The third tip today is to practice self-care. Now, self-care we talk about a great deal, and self-care comprises many different aspects. But the first one is about rest. Take time out. Take time to replenish, especially if you're someone that's always used to doing, always used to filling that gap. Now is the time to trust and to listen to what you need. So much is going on inside of you energetically that we need to give our bodies the ability to recover. We need to give ourselves the ability to recover and rest and recuperate. And this can include cultivating stillness practices. So of course, meditation and breath work, but even just the practice of resting, the practice of relaxing. And what that looks like to me is putting my feet up on the couch, laying on the floor and practicing letting my body go. If you're new to this, you may find that you'll begin to notice how much contraction is in your body. A subtle contraction, not a strong contraction, but on a very subtle level, your nervous system is firing. And so be curious with that, see what comes out with that and begin to add that into your day. For me, I do that in the evening before I go to bed. A second self-care practice would be about release, letting go of the devices, letting go of social media, letting go of the constant tuning in to the external noise and bringing yourself into your inner world. The more we're plugged into devices, the more we're going to be distracted and we're not going to be tuning into our intuition. And that's there by design. They're designed to keep us on longer, as long as possible, to keep our attention on them rather than our attention inwards. So when you know that, then begin to detach from them. I'm not saying don't use them. Of course, we all need to tune in and emails and all that kind of stuff. Communication is important, but to not be governed by them, by setting your times when you want to acknowledge, okay, I'm going to tune in now. And the last one was self-care practice. Of course, like I said, there are many, but for me, it's socializing less. The pressure to socialize, the pressure to see people, and not to just ignore people, but to say, I'm just need some time right now. I've got a lot going on. You don't have to say anything, just to say that I'm gonna, for a few weeks or any period of time that you want, you're gonna say that you're gonna just spend a bit more time yourself at the moment, just to spend a bit more time at home, just to spend some moments or practicing. You could say whatever you want. The point is to spend less time around other people in this phase. Of course, if you need help, and not to not see people, but if you need help, seek help. But also to honor that time for yourself, to get to know yourself more. Remember, everything in life changes. Nothing is permanent whatsoever, no matter how much we tell ourselves that. This is an important time of growth of your personal mastery journey. Let it happen, and let it happen with as much quality as you can. The only thing that remains the same is you. Think of the sky. There's all this different weather that comes along, but the blue sky that we know so well, it's always there. It's always behind the elements. Think of that yourself. Allow your thoughts, allow your emotions to just come through as if they're just the weather. Of course, they'll be there, and there'll be uncomfortable ones, there'll be blissful ones, just to allow them to pass through, allow them to be. The most important thing to remember is that you're not going backwards. This is a key stage. It's really, really important stage to honor. It's not a straight line journey, it's a spiral, spiraling up, and so we'll keep coming round to these different phases. We'll evolve, we'll heal, we'll process, change, we'll come into the void. And not say it in that order, but it's a spiral process as we ascend. And because it's a spiral, we'll keep peeling back the layers, we'll keep seeing old habits, but those habits will be old. We'll be a new person when we're coming to them, so we can address them in different ways. We won't continue the patterns. Remind yourself that you are still growing and you are still expanding. Just allow yourself, be kind to yourself, and know that letting go is the most powerful and effective way in managing this phase. So over to you. What is your experience of the void? How have you managed it before? How do you manage it? What's your strategy? What helps? Comment below. I'd love to hear. I really would love to hear how you tackle this. And a reminder for the Ask Richard segment, if you have a question for me, then write the question in social media and hashtag Ask Richard, and I'll answer those questions in the coming weeks and coming months. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again on another episode.